going to be looking at a little tohatsu 6 horsepower motor. I stored it probably 6 months ago. I swear I let all the gas out of the carburetor, but I must not have, because it will not start. It's getting spark because I can get it started with a little bit of starting fluid. Of course, it runs for a few seconds and then dies. And I'm pretty sure it's getting fuel because I got the primer bulb right there. And you can see in the fuel filter, if I squeeze the primer bulb, I'm getting fuel up to this point. So there's the carburetor. That's the float bowl right there. Either the float's stuck shut, or usually what happens is all the gas evaporates out of the bowl and it forms this like white crud that stops up all the little jets and ports and things like that. Usually it just takes some basic disassembly and cleaning out. So we're going to open this up and see what it is and get it running again. Alright, let's go. Alright, carburetor's off. We got our little bench to work on it here with some good light. And I couldn't take a video of me taking it off because I'm just doing this one-handed, but it's pretty easy. It's got 2 bolts that go through here and 1 hose that goes there, 1 hose that goes there, and then the main hose with a clamp that goes there. And it's pretty easy to get off. If this hose doesn't want to come off, just take some pliers and gently twist the hose first, and then it should come right off. And I can hear that there is fuel in the bowl, so almost certainly there's going to be some schmutz in the bottom of this thing that's preventing it from going up the little venturi straw or whatever, and getting sucked out into the path, airflow path. So we're just going to take it apart and clean it out. We'll see what happens. Okay, it's a good idea to have a nice workspace for a carburetor, and like a little tub to take it apart in. Number 1 for fuel, but number 2 for parts. This carburetor, I've never taken this one apart, but it shouldn't have a lot of small parts in it other than a couple small jets. Probably 1 small jet. But sometimes you're surprised. Sometimes there's a spring in a ball or who knows what. But either way, it's a good idea to have a tub or something to take it apart in. And when you take any screw out from the inside, be prepared for there to be a spring and a ball or something behind it. So as you remove the screws, do it gently, and again, be prepared. I've taken these apart before and had things fly apart, and only to never find them again and have to order parts for it. So, but this should be pretty darn simple. All right, and we're going to start with the fuel bowl and these 2 Phillips head screws. We'll take this apart. All right, we got the bottom off. The fuel bowl. A couple things right away. And look at the bottom there. There's all kinds of junk and crap. And then let's turn it over. And what do we got? That is not going to allow it to run. That schmutz right in the center. And that is from the fuel drying, or impurities in the fuel drying, leaving the impurities. Once it evaporates, that's what's left. And it dries very hard. And will clog up that's where the main fuel comes from, and it gets sucked up the venturi right into the airway path. Now the float, let's see here, that allows the fuel to come in is nice and free. So when this goes up, it blocks the fuel that was in the float bowl, and then as the fuel is used out of the bowl, being sucked up by that bottom straw, this starts to drop and starts refilling the bowl. So this is always floating some optimal area as the fuel's being consumed out of the bowl, being sucked up through the straw. And if this is blocked, it's not going to work. So this is, I believe, if you can see it, just a little, like most little carburetors, a little flathead screwdriver. Pull this out, clean it out, and I bet that I could just put it right back in and it would run. But I'm going to probably take the this float off because there's a little mechanism right there that you can see that, although it's very free, but I'm still going to clean it out. And that is the needle valve for the float. So on the bottom of that other end of that needle valve, there is a little rubber piece that's the stopper, or the valve stopper, that will meter, stop or allow it to flow the fuel into the float bowl. Then of course, once it's in the float bowl, it gets sucked up by this piece due to negative pressure of the venturi coming through the carburetor. So if it's only negative pressure going through here, putting a slight venturi sucking up fuel through here, it's very, very low pressure and weak forces. So if there's any kind of stoppage or blockage, that's what will cause it to run rough. And if it's partially blocked, that's when you end up needing the choke, because it's restricting the airflow to match the restricted fuel flow to get the optimal air-fuel ratio to run right. So that's it. I mean, these carburetors are pretty simple. So let's clean this out. I'll take that out and we'll take another video. All right, there's the little orifice removed. Let me see if I can get a good shot of that. Now you should be able to see light through that. You can't see nothing through that. But so I'm just gonna blow it out. I can't get a good. Let's see here. You should be able to see the desk through that. I don't know how many thousandths, but that should be probably 25 thousandths hole through there, and you should be able to see through it. But it's completely blocked. So this thing had zero chance of running. So let's clean that out. All right, let's see here. So there is the. Can't get it to focus. Let's blow it out with some compressed air. See if we can just get it to go right out with some compressed air. Now you can see through it, maybe. I can see through it, but it's still not clean enough. And this probably isn't going to do it, so. Okay, I didn't have, I thought I had some 20,000 safety wire from, that I use for stainless safety wire for safety wiring bolts, but I didn't have it. So what I did is I just took this wire brush that's pretty darn stiff, and I bent one bristle off there, and just gently put this on there, freed the blockage, went back and forth, round and round, sprayed some PB Blaster in it, because I also don't, for some reason, I don't have any darn carb cleaner, which I usually have, but I can't find any. But anyways, that did the trick. So now you can probably see, let's try it this way. Alright, so now you can see the light through there. Now, you got to get that, all that carbon and all that crap and leftover deposits in there. You got to get it out of that hole. So how do you know you got it out of that hole? But just look at the hole and make sure that it's a circle. It's a round circle. And if it's a perfectly round circle, you got most of it out of there. So when I put this on there, you just gently go back and forth, wiggle it around and move it in and out, whatever, and then spray it out and do it some more. Blow it out. I blowed it out, blew it out, blowed it out, and then take a close look at it. I even have a magnifying glass around here somewhere, and just make sure it's perfectly round. If you know it's perfectly round, it's probably cleaned out to the actual edges of the brass or bronze or whatever this is, original piece. What you don't want to do is drill it out. I have a set of carburetor drills that are all very, very tiny, but you never want to do that, because these are metered for the 6 horsepower and for the type of carburetor for that particular engine. And so this is critical. So critical that even at high altitudes or whatever, you would get different jets to restrict the fuel flow through here, to tune it basically for the air-fuel ratio, to get the best power for the best mass of airflow into the engine. So anyways, I guarantee I put that back in, this thing starts right up. But I gotta continue to, I'm gonna clean the rest of this out while it's apart, so we'll do that. Okay, the float is off the carburetor. Float is right there. That is the little shaft that you got to take out, slide out, which slides in between these 2 points here. It only comes out one direction, as you can see on, where is it? On this side. That side's knurled. A little bit of knurling on there, so make sure you slide it out in this direction. Pulls out. You don't punch the knurled side through. You pull it out that side. And then this just comes right out. And when you get this out, you want to check that little rubber seat. Let's see here. You can see that little rubber seat. That's what actually shuts off the fuel as the bowl fills. So in this float, floating, exerting pressure from floating forces, exerts pressure on that seat to close it. It does a pretty darn good job. Like you can put you know, quite a bit of pressure, not that you want to, but you know, 6-7 psi, and it's going to close it through mechanical advantage of this little setup. But so then once you get that good, you can check this by, let me see if I can do this. Let's see here. Just blow a little bit of air through there. Let me see if I can do this one-handed. So see that, see it come out of that. That's where the little seat would be, the little needle seat would be. So it's clear passage. But I blew it out with some cleaner, and this thing's probably ready to be assembled. The only thing I just noticed on this particular carburetor, which I have not taken apart before, was that screw right there. And based on how it is on the side, I'm assuming that is probably some kind of adjustment. I'm not quite sure. Idle adjustment, possibly. Maybe I'll look it up and see, but I'm not going to take that apart because it's probably set. We'll see how it runs and if it idles good. If it's not idling good, I might play with it, or I may take it back off and then just look it up, see what the heck that is, and take it out and clean that as well. If you want to take it out, all you do is count how many turns it came out and just put it back where it was. As a matter of fact, I think I'm just going to do that while I got it out. Alright, that's what came out of that hole, and as you can see from the needle on it, that's obviously some kind of fine adjustment, probably idle, or maybe some kind of acceleration or something. I don't really know, I'd have to look it up. And that's the hole it went. It was 6 turns, almost 6 turns exactly coming out. Before the, of course it had a spring on it, so when I got to 6 turns, the spring popped it out the rest of the way, and I know that I can go 6 turns back in. That's probably never been messed with since the factory, so that's where it's going back in at 6 turns. Okay, the main jet's back in. The whatever that adjustment screw is, idle screw, whatever it is back in, and the float is back in with the knurled side on that side pressed in gently. Doesn't have to be too strong. Don't push it too tight. Now this needle seat had to go back in 6 turns. I took that one. All right, so we're done rebuilding the carburetor. Not rebuilding it really, it's just cleaning it out. And you should get used to this because this happens routinely unless you use your motor, you know, very frequently. So we're going to start it up. I got the water on, you choke it, and it's in the start position, and let's give it a good pull. 1. Just turns the idle up. just don't want it so it stalls in the water. Like when you put it in the water and you put it in gear, it has a little more resistance. So that's probably pretty good right there. But I'll have to set it in the water. You can read in the manual what the actual RPM is, and you can probably put like an optical tag there on Amazon for like $15. Put a little tape on there and put a little optical tag. You can set the exact RPM it's supposed to be pretty easily. So, running good. One thing. So, look right here. When I put this back together, what I failed to notice is that there's a gasket, a spacer, and a gasket. So when I pulled it out, this spacer fell down in here and I had the sun in my eyes and I did not see it. And initially I put this back together without the spacer. I was like, that's funny, there's 2 gaskets there. But you got to have all 3 of these, including 2 gaskets. Obviously the gaskets are for sealing, but if you don't have all 3 of these, then this linkage will be off. And as soon as you start up, it will want to idle very high, because this thing will be this carburetor will be closer, and then it will cause this to be slightly off the stop. So don't forget, make sure you put gasket, spacer, gasket if your motor has one. Just be cognizant of what is there before you take it out, and then it goes back in. Same order, same number of pieces. Alright, that's it. This is done.
Okay.
Good? Alright, so one of the things I'm going to do, because I don't know when I'm going to use this next, I'm going to drain the fuel out so that it doesn't get gummed up from that fuel evaporating over time and leaving the schmutz that gets in there. So you can either disconnect the fuel plug and run it until the engine dies, and then you know most of the fuel at least is out of the bowl, although probably not all of it. Because of the way this works, it's not going to suck it all up. It'll suck up most of it, but not all of it. So to keep it from getting gummed up completely, this is the drain. Now this is the screw for the drain, but the drain is actually right there, which we just discovered. So you just would like to catch the fuel. I don't know if you can see it, but I am going to open this. So this is actually just I thought this was the actual drain, but it's not. So it once you open this, the fuel comes out of that drain, so you don't have to take this out. I thought I was going to have to take the plug out, but it's not. It's just a little needle valve, which is actually kind of nice.
It's not much in there.
No, it's pretty much done. So really that's the way to do it, is to empty the fuel out that way. Make sure I got it all out. Shake it around a little bit. And then just close it back up. And then as soon as you prime it next time, it'll fill that bowl again. So we caught our fuel that was in the bowl, and if you let that evaporate, you would see the same junk in that would be at the bottom of that. So to prevent that from happening, drain the fuel bowls. That's the same thing on your generators, like your little inverter generators, or any generator or anything gas powered that has a carburetor that you're going to store for a long time. Drain that bowl. And that is our little Bris boat, 10'8" boat that we bought, and we're storing it under here for now. The only place I've actually used it is in that pool right there, and just to test it out. So, but we're gonna take this motor up the river probably soon, maybe next week, and we will test this motor out in that boat, see how that goes. Because that's what's going to be stored on the back of Intrigue for when we start cruising. And
we got to build some davits.
Yeah, well, I got the Weaver davits, but I got to come up with a way to tilt it up, not just to our cleats on the stern. We're going to make a canopy that incorporates some kind of lifting eye that we can lift it up. So anyways, we got a lot of work ahead of us so that we can cruise in about 8 months, and then we'll see what happens. Okay.